Well, it's December, and you know what that means?
Shut up! Skylar. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Now, a little fun fact about me is that I adore Christmas. It is hands down my favorite time of the year. I love the decorations, the food, the music, how cold it gets over in Ireland. Seriously though, it gets fucking freezing over here and I can't handle it anymore. And most of all, getting free shit from Santa, boys! But another part of Christmas that I, and many others, love so much has got to be Christmas movies. For decades now, there have been so many Christmas movies made that all hold very special places in people's hearts, and over time have become beloved Christmas classics. Movies like Home Alone, A Christmas Carol, The Snowman, A Christmas Story, and A Charlie Brown Christmas have cemented themselves as iconic Christmas classics. Even more recent films like Arthur Christmas and Klaus have already become modern Christmas classics. Now, we tend to usually have a soft spot for a lot of these Christmas movies, since we have nostalgic memories of watching these movies with our families when we were really young. And when we were younger, we tend to love everything we see. Like how I used to think that SML was funny. Imagine that, am I right? Now this sort of happened to me recently, as a lot of Christmas movies that I used to watch all the time as a kid have sort of aged poorly.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
But I still kind of, sort of, in a way like these movies, even if they aren't as good as I remember them to be. But there was this one movie that would define Christmas for me, a movie I used to watch over and over and over again around Christmas. And a movie that I was kind of worried would age poorly, but after watching it recently, I believe it is a misunderstood Christmas masterpiece, and that movie is The Polar Express. Now I know what you are all thinking, ew, really? That weird Robert Zemeckis motion capture movie where nearly every character is played by Tom Hanks? How is this a misunderstood Christmas classic? Well, firstly, shut up. I'm editing all this, therefore I'm in control. Now, I know that a lot of people tend to shit on this movie, saying how it's boring, the characters are bland, and that the animation is really uncanny. Now, while I do believe that some of these criticisms are warranted, I think that this movie isn't as bad as people say it is. In fact, I really love this film. I would even go as far as to say that it's my all-time favorite Christmas movie. Now, before you leave a comment telling me to game it myself and that my opinion is trash, let me explain why I believe this movie is a misunderstood Christmas classic. But first, let me tell you what this film is about. This movie is about a young boy named Hero Boy, great, who is at the point in his life where he is starting to doubt his belief in Santa. That all changes one Christmas Eve night, when a magical train called the Polar Express appears right outside his house. I don't think that's how a train works, but whatever, it's magic, you know? Magic. He's greeted by the conductor of the train, simply named Conductor, who is played by Tom Hanks. Now get used to his name, since you'll be hearing him a lot in this review. The conductor tells the boy that the train is taking him and many other kids to the North Pole to visit good old Santa Claus. Again, I don't think that's how trains work, but never mind that. The boy hops onto the train, where he meets characters like Hero Girl, played by Nona Gay, and the Know-It-All Kid, played by Mandark from Dexter's Lab?
Hey you, yeah, you. Do you know what kind of train this is? Yes, Dexter, I can read your thoughts, and I am smarter than you.
We're only a few minutes in, and already this movie is really weird. Then for the rest of the runtime, some hijinks and crazy shenanigans happen on the train. There's this boy named Billy who hops on the train, Tom Hanks makes more appearances, there are some songs, there's this weird roller coaster experience, they end up on some ice, and finally, good old Santa Claus shows up, who is, get this, played by Tom frickin' Hanks. You go, Tom Hanks, you go, you king Tom Hanks, you amazing fucking person, yup, Tom Hanks on top. Now just from that brief plot synopsis, that's a fucking tongue twister. Now just from that brief plot synopsis, that's good enough. You probably think that this movie is a mess of multiple things happening right out of nowhere, but it's actually a really simple movie. This motherfucker gets on a train, some entertaining stuff happens on the train, and they learn a lesson about believing in Santa.
Believe in Santa.
Santa!
Some could say that this movie is boring with weird pacing, but I would have to disagree with some of those complaints. Is the movie's story and pacing perfect? No, not really. Some scenes do happen right out of nowhere, and they don't really affect the plot all that much. But what really carries the movie for me is the atmosphere, the characters, and the magical element to the film. When I was rewatching this film for the first time in like a few years, I just got the sense of magic while I was watching the film. It wasn't really a nostalgic feeling per se like you would get from other movies, but more of this feeling of wonder and amazement, like you're experiencing this adventure for yourself. The atmosphere of this movie is honestly something I can't really describe. As I'm scripting this right now, I'm actually really struggling to find the words to what I'm trying to explain, but the best way to describe this film is that it's like a dream. Now I know that sounds really fucking generic, but hear me out. The main protagonist of this movie is the definition of a blank slate. He has no name and no real personality. Even his design is kind of generic and nothing really special. Now, with any other movie, a character who has no personality would instantly decrease the quality, but here it kind of works in a way. My view on the main character is that they purposely made him bland, so the viewers could kind of relate to him in a way, if that makes sense. Like they can imagine themselves as the main character. Not to say the character is completely bare bones, the acting is solid and you do kind of understand the situation of losing the Christmas magic. So he's not completely bland, he has a tiny shred of personality to make him a bit likable. And the other characters can be interesting, and also a little bit weak. The conductor at first seems like this kind and welcoming person who wants to take these random kids to see Santa. Okay, saying it like that, it does sound a bit weird, but stick with me. Other times though, he's always yelling and can be somewhat aggressive, like how he always yells at the hero boy if he does one thing wrong, and even taking the hero girl on top of the train to bring her to the locomotive. Like fucking hell, will you relax, conductor? Also, speaking of hero girl, yeah, she's there. She's kind of like the hero boy, but a girl. And she's also meant to be a blank slate, so the viewers can imagine themselves as her, so she's okay. And of course we got other characters like Billy, Mandark, Smokey and Steamer, and you know, they're there, you know, they do their thing, they say lines and they're there, you know, they're in the movie for sure. But one of the most interesting characters in the film, to me at least, was the hobo. While the hero boy is on top of the train, trying to get to the conductor and the girl, he runs into this hobo sitting on the top of the train with a lit fire. The image of this hobo guy sitting on this train with the snow blowing in the wind is iconic enough, but the scene with him and the hero boy is such a fascinating and kind of magical moment. Basically, the hobo starts talking to the kid about believing and how the only way to believe in something is to see it with your own eyes. This ties into the film's message about believing in Santa, and how the boy is slowly starting to lose his belief in Santa. This line, however, gets contradicted later on in the film, when the conductor is also talking about belief, and says how the most real things in the world are the things we can't see.
But sometimes seeing is believing. And sometimes, the most real things in the world are the things we can't see.
So we have these two quotes from two different characters who both have different views on belief, which I personally think makes for such a powerful and sort of unique take on the message of belief that the film is trying to convey with the viewers. It sort of helps challenge the audience in a way to pick their own view on belief. Anyway, back to the funny homeless guy on top of the train. So the hobo going on about how seeing is believing starts to challenge Hero Boy's belief even more. Then there was this line.
Are you saying that this is all just a dream?
You said it, kid! Not me.
This moment where the boy starts to question if everything is a dream or not is such an interesting moment. There have been countless films where it's revealed that the whole story was a dream the whole time, but what makes this moment different is that they start questioning if everything is a dream or not so early in the film. On one hand, the film could easily be a dream, with all this stuff happening that would never work in reality. But at the same time, the ending hints that this wasn't a dream. And do we get an answer to any of this? No, we don't really. The answer is more so for the audience to decide, which I personally think helps elevate the atmosphere, the message, and the magical feel to the movie. And like I said earlier, the hobo is such a fascinating character. Not only does he fuck with Hero Boy's head on if everything is a dream or not, but it's clear that the hobo isn't really human. He appears to be some sort of spirit that is constantly watching over our main protagonists. He occasionally pops up later on in the film to either help out or not help out. But this sense of mystery and not knowing if this is all real or not is again so interesting and makes for such a great viewing experience. The characters are confused as to what's going on, and so are the viewers. It's never made obvious to the viewers as to what's going on. Everything is kept a mystery, and I like that. It lets the audience decide on what they think is happening and come up with their own conclusion. And I love how this movie doesn't try to be loud, obnoxious, or talk down to its viewers. The film is very calm and sort of laid back in a way. It knows what kind of movie it is, and it doesn't try to become outdated in any way. So I think that's really cool. And oh my god, I love the music to this film so fucking much. It really helps elevate the atmosphere of this film in such a calming and sort of magical way. Like, when I listen to the background music, I feel as if I'm being transported to this world. It's gotta be one of my favorite Christmas movie soundtracks of all time. The movie would honestly not be the same without this soundtrack. It's so good. Also, I kinda forgot to include this in the script, but this film is sort of technically a musical. It has like 2-3 musical numbers, I think. There was originally another musical number between the two train drivers smoking steamer that unfortunately got cut out of the final film. Also, sorry I didn't talk too much about these two guys, but they only showed up in like 2 scenes and that's honestly it. Honestly, it's kind of a shame this song got cut out, but at the same time, I am kinda glad. Since there was a fart joke in the song, and that would have meant that the Polar Express would have had a fart joke.
Takes a half a ton of coal. A blast to tour there. A tiny spark to lighter.
I think we were saved. Now, while I have been praising this film so far, I do have to discuss the elephant in the room, an issue of this movie that I cannot ignore, and that is the motion capture animation. Now, I'm not gonna lie and say the animation is fantastic, because it's not. I would even go as far as to say that it's really bad. Like, they tried to make the animation look super realistic for 2004, but then again, this was 2004. Back then, Pixar was trying to figure out how to make good-looking human models, and DreamWorks was putting Will Smith's face on a fish, so it's safe to say that computer animation was still kinda weak around this time. The team trying to attempt this realism with the technology they had in 2004 comes off as super outdated by today's standards. I'm not the first one to say that these characters fall really deep into the uncanny valley, where they all look a little too real. A lot of people often wonder why they would fully motion capture the movie. Why not just animate the entire film? Well, I did some research on the film, and I think I might have found why the movie looks like this. Basically, in 1999, Tom Hanks bought the rights to the original book, which was originally written by Chris Van Allsburg. Hanks wanted the film to be live action and did not want it to be animated. He brought the project to Robert Zemeckis, the director of Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the Back to the Future trilogy. Now, Zemeckis stated that a live action film would be near impossible, saying how it would look awful and cost over $1 billion to make. Hanks, however, did not want the film to be animated for some weird reason I couldn't find. So they both settled on the idea of performance capture, or as it's more commonly known by, motion capture, where actors get into these suits and perform the movements of the animated characters. So the motion capture was mainly used as a compromise between Hanks and Zemeckis. And also because around this time, Zemeckis had become kind of obsessed with computer technology, and after this film was released, made a few more of these motion capture movies with, let's just say, various degrees of success. So with all of that taken into consideration, I can sorta see why they made the film motion capture, and the animation does shine in a few scenes, mainly with the camera swooping in many scenes, or some of the action scenes. I heard that this film looked incredible in 3D, and I bet it does, since a lot of these shots look incredible. The character designs though, are a bit rough, but like, they're not awful. Like, look at Mandark over here. Now that's the face of a guy I would feel safe around. But aside the dodgy motion capture, this movie is honestly way better than I remember it being. While the film is definitely not perfect per se, I can appreciate it for how simple yet charming it is. I always get such a warm and nice feeling when watching this film every year around Christmas. Whenever I see just a clip of this film, I'm almost instantly put into the Christmas spirit. It's just such a wholesome movie that never fails to put me in a good mood. While I do understand why some people don't like this film, at the same time, I can't help but appreciate the film for what it is. It doesn't try to be loud and in your face like other movies around this time. It respects its audience and takes us on this magical adventure that really embraces the holiday magic. In conclusion, I really love this film. To me, Christmas wouldn't be the same without the Polar Express. It's such an iconic film that I hold very near and dear, and I urge you all to go watch it for yourselves. If you can look past the weird and creepy animation, I think you will really enjoy this misunderstood Christmas classic.
And this will be the last video of 2022. Also, sorry for going live action kind of out of nowhere. I just want to try something new, so yeah, here's my face, I guess. But for real, thanks for joining me on this weird adventure. I appreciate every subscriber, every viewer, every like, comment I've gotten over the past year. It's been amazing and it's really helped me to create good-ish videos, I guess. And yeah, it's just been a great ride. 2023 is going to be a banging year, I promise that. And hopefully I can get to 1,000 subs. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Anyway, I don't really know how I'm gonna end this video since I can't use my old end card, so I guess here are some videos you can watch from me. Subscribe there, I guess. I don't know how this will look in the final video. Yeah, thanks for watching, I guess, and yeah, I'm really not good on camera, so see ya. Yeah.